Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 31 of the World of Sports podcast. I am your host, Diego Sandoval, joined as always by my co host, Logan Ring. Logan, say what's up to the people.
What's up, everybody?
We got a good episode ahead of us. So this is being recorded on Friday, March 5th, by the way. So we are going to be previewing NBA All Star Weekend coming up. It's one day, but they're calling it All Star Weekend. Um, will be this Sunday. And then we're going to continue with our MLB top 10 positional rankings. This week we are doing second base and shortstop. Something to look forward to the next week. I think we're going to do our midseason NBA awards. So look forward to that. But this week we're focusing on All-Star game and second baseman and shortstops in the MLB. So yeah, as always, follow us on our social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can find us all at the World of Sports podcast. Just look that up and it'll be there. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a like, comment, subscribe, and then if you're listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, give us a follow, give us a rating. We'd very much appreciate it. That's all we've got for the intro. Moving on to our news from around the leagues, as we always start with. We're going to start off with some NFL news just because, NFL is kind of in a lull right now. There's been a couple free agency moves here and there, but I think we said last episode of the episode before, we're not going to see much NFL action until the draft in a couple of months. So, mostly NBA and MLB content going forward. So NFL news. The Cowboys announced, or not the Cowboys, Dak Prescott announced that he could be 100% healthy by April. So we'll see what that means in terms of his contract. Right now, he's not under contract, so we'll see what the Cowboys choose to do. I think they should re-sign him. It's an interesting situation. He wants a lot of money, and they don't really want to give him a lot of money. So we'll see. I think he's a good franchise quarterback for them, but who knows? They could use this injury to their advantage, which we've seen teams do, and I think that's kind of scummy when they do that. Like, it's like, oh, you got injured, so you get less money.
Yeah.
It's kind of messed up because he was great before that. So I don't see a reason why. I don't know if he's going to get 40 mil a year like he's saying, but I still think he's in the 30 to 35 a year type of guy. So we'll see. Speaking of quarterbacks and money, Ben Roethlisberger, Big Ben, has re-signed with the Steelers. He took less money, so he restructured his contract. He was making 19 mil a year. This year he will make 14 million, and then he'll be an unrestricted free agent after last season. I'm thinking it'll probably be his last year. I don't know. I don't think he has much left in the tank, and I don't know if that team right now built around him is a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I think they were a little overrated last year, and a lot of people thought it was his last year. And then the way that he went out, I guess he wants to play another year, so good for him. I mean, I'm not a huge fan, but he's had a really good career, so yeah, I think he wants to go out in a different way than he did.
Yeah, and we'll see what that restructuring does. I mean, 5 million frees up a little bit, but that team, if they're going to want to be Super Bowl contenders, they're going to have to make some moves, and I think they know that, and I think that's part of the reason why he came back on a less amount of money. Probably the biggest news in the NFL this week: J.J. Watt has signed with the Arizona Cardinals, 2-year, $31 million deal. He reported it himself on Twitter, which was kind of cool. Like, we saw Bauer do that, and we're seeing J.J. Watt do it. I think it's kind of cool that athletes are kind of taking it into their own hands. I just like that whole process because when reporters get into it and like the media announces it like way before anyone knows, like I just feel like that takes away the fun in it. But
Yeah, and
I
also
like
like when it's coming from the guy, it's 100% true.
yeah.
And there's been a lot of, I guess, fake reports and stuff about where he's going. So yeah, I agree with you. I like this system.
To the Cardinals, I don't know if that necessarily makes them Super Bowl contenders. I don't even know if they're the best team in their division. That NFC West is stacked right now. Rams, Niners fully healthy, The Seahawks are kind of in a weird place right now, but they're still a good team. Apparently, JJ Watt had more money on the table from, I think, the Browns and the Bills. Like they offered him more money and he just didn't want to go there. I think he has a better chance at winning there just because I think that those situations are better fit in terms of playoff runs. Um, and that was his main thing going into free agency. He wanted to go to a contender. And I don't know if I can consider the Cardinals a contender right now.
Yeah, this was a really surprising signing for me. I didn't even like consider the Cardinals.
Well,
But
nobody did. He had announced
yeah,
like his last three were like the Packers, the Bills, and the Browns. And I
yeah,
think
and
that shocked everyone.
as a Browns fan, that would have been awesome. But I mean, good for him for not going to just a stacked team, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I respect that. But yeah, it seems a little bit weird from the reports that came out where he's like, I'm trying to go win a Super Bowl right now, and then he goes to the Cardinals. But I think it'll be fun. So
Yeah. Deshaun Watson gets to watch his friends play in Arizona. JJ Watt and DeAndre Hopkins. Um, he got a lot of money. 2 years, 31 mil for a guy who's, again, he's a great player, but he's getting old. I expected him to sign for less and for a better team, but you know, it is what it is. I like the Cardinals team and what they're building. As long as they sign some free agents, I think they're going to be decent the next couple years. Again, I don't know if they're contenders, but they're a good team.
yeah,
And then two minor pieces of news in the NFL. The Vikings cut Kyle Rudolph. He's been their tight end for quite a while now. Kind of saw it coming. He doesn't have much left in the tank. We'll see what he ends up doing. I could see him re-signing or signing with another team for a 1 to 2 year deal. And then the Texans re-signed running back David Johnson to a 1 year, $6 million deal. Um, I don't know if they're trying to entice Deshaun Watson, but that's not going to do it, Houston. Um, but yeah, that's what we got from the NFL. Um, Only one piece of news from the MLB. I guess this is kind of news. Spring training is in full swing. It started last week. Teams are getting out there, teams are playing, and fans are in the stands. It looks good. Um, Excited for baseball season. But in terms of news, Jackie Bradley Jr. signed with the Milwaukee Brewers to a 2 year, $24 million deal. Solid signing. I don't know that the Brewers are necessarily better than the Cardinals at this point. I think the Cardinals have them in that division. But I mean, Jackie Bradley Jr. is a solid player, really good defender. Um, it's just not that big of a deal. I don't think it makes that huge of an impact.
yeah,
Now in the NBA, we had a couple pieces of news from the NBA and a lot of rumors kind of in the NBA. So Blake Griffin has kind of been a subject of discussion lately because him and the Pistons basically said, "Hey, you're not going to play until we either find a trade or we buy you out." And they bought him out, um, meaning he is a free agent and he can really go wherever he wants. The original report was that the Lakers, Clippers, Nets, Warriors, and Heat are among probably the top 5 teams who are interested in him. However, then it was just announced this morning that like the Nets are front runners. It was something that the rival teams expect him to sign with the Nets. So we'll see what that entails. I mean, Blake Griffin, he's obviously not Blake Griffin he used to be, but I think he'd be a great player for the Nets or for any contender, I think, in that list.
yeah. I want him to get into a new situation because the last 2 years have been just kind of sad, honestly, watching him play. He's shooting like 36% in that time, and it's just I don't know if I hope it's the situation, but I think he wants to prove that he's not like washed.
Yeah.
So I don't dislike him. I think he's a good player, and I hope he finds a situation where he can thrive in. But I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
if he has that in him anymore.
And I think the main thing he's looking for is to win.
Yeah,
He was so good on the Clippers. Obviously didn't win there, and obviously didn't win on the Pistons. Um, but I mean, if he goes to the Nets, that team's good.
that team's already stacked. So I don't know. I'm not really sure if he would help them, to be honest with you, but It's worth a shot at least. He's probably
Yeah.
going to sign a minimum deal, so
Yeah,
why not?
I think he goes minimum. I don't the Warriors, I don't really see. I don't like that fit. The Heat maybe, but that's more of a kind of just a bunch of shooters around like Jimmy Butler and Bam. So I don't know if he fits there. Like
Yeah.
you said, his percentages aren't that good. The Lakers I think would benefit. They're obviously lacking in the power forward slash center realm. And I know he's not like a big man, but he'll be able to stretch the floor in that position. And I mean the Clippers and Nets can use him too. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm not sure when he's gonna make his decision. But Blake Griffin on the market. Uh, David Nwaba, Cal Poly alumni. He's out 6+ weeks with he had wrist surgery. He was playing since Christian Wood got hurt and since Eric Gordon's been out, playing pretty good minutes for the Rockets, and that team is hurting right now. It is. They haven't won a game since Christian Wood was out. I think it's like what was it, 12 games ago or something?
Yeah, it's been like a month since they've won.
Yeah. They're hurting. I think if they get Christian Wood back and Eric Gordon back, they could be one of the play-in teams. They could be if everyone kind of starts to mesh together. But right now, it just is bad.
Yeah, I feel like at this point with their record, they should just kind of not tank, but really not try to win too much because they're not going to accomplish anything.
Yeah,
They're in a full rebuild basically after this year, I think. So I don't know. Winning's not really the direction they're going right now, but it sucks how many injuries they have.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Rockets are in a tough place right now. Trade rumors. The trade deadline is coming up. Not sure exactly what the date is. March something, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. But Nikola Vucevic, all-star, is drawing trade interest. Celtics and Hornets as two possible suitors. I think if he goes to the Celtics, that makes that team pretty good with 3 elite scoring options and
Yeah.
a big rebounding guy in the middle.
You could say 4 elite scoring options then.
Oh yeah, Kemba. I mean, baby. The Hornets, I don't I don't really get that. I mean, they're kind of like a young team, and maybe they want to pair him with LaMelo.
He's better than Cody Zeller at least.
That's true. They don't have the big men, but I think the Celtics are the most intriguing team here, and that'd be very interesting. I'm assuming would Kemba be given up in that trade?
Yeah, it's really weird because like from Orlando's position, I'm not really sure what they would want back because like if they get picks from Boston, like they're going to be late first rounders. So
Right.
maybe I think they would give up someone like Marcus Smart, but honestly, I don't know if they would benefit from that. So
Yeah.
it's it's an interesting trade talk, I guess, but I'm not really sure if it's going to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, because Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are untouchable, and I think the one guy that stands out because you're getting an all-star. Nikola Vucevic is an all-star. He averages 20 something, low 20s, and like 11 rebounds a game. I think Kemba Walker would be the main piece of that trade, just because he's kind of been talked about recently in terms of trades and getting something valuable in return. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Um, Also in the NBA, the Atlanta Hawks have fired their head coach Lloyd Pierce. The Hawks came in kind of hyped up. Like everyone was really excited to see the Hawks this year. Trae Young, another year of maturing. John Collins, Clint Capella. They made a lot of moves in the offseason, and they're 16-20. They just haven't been very good.
Yeah, they've had a ton of injuries too, but
Yeah,
I it wasn't fitting. Even Trey Young said that they like needed a new voice, and when your star player's saying that, you got to get the head coach out.
yeah.
Even sometimes it's not even their fault, but just like a change of scenery can help out the team, and they're really struggling right now. So I think this is a good move. We'll see what happens. I'm not sure if the Hawks are gonna get a ton better, but they needed to make a change, so this is good for them.
Mm-hmm. And the final piece of news from the NBA and all leagues is that again, with the Celtics trade talks, Jeremy Grant's name has been thrown out there. Jeremy Grant, I think, with Christian Wood out, is probably the front runner for most improved player this year. He's been really good for the Pistons, and we all know the Pistons aren't going anywhere. Again, it'd be interesting to see what the Celtics would give up for this, because draft picks would be worth some, but again, with the Celtics, they're not going to have a lottery pick in the next couple of years with Brown and Tatum on the team.
Yeah, it's basically everything we said about Vucevic can be applied here too. The Pistons are a worse team, so they're definitely trying to rebuild. But also, like, I think they got him for 4 more years, and Jeremy Grant is by far their best player. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they do this, but if they think that they could cash in on him now, maybe. But yeah, just another trade talk I wanted to talk about. So there it is.
Yeah, that's interesting. We should see some trades go down. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams that are trying to
Please,
contend.
please trade Andre Drummond already. I'm waiting.
But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of trades, especially with, teams like the Nets, who just look so good with so much talent. Obviously, the Lakers are up there. The Sixers look really good this year. I think there's going to be some teams that try to make moves to try to vault them into that kind of discussion as well. Team like the Celtics, who have been kind of hovering 500 this year. But we will see about that, and we will obviously update you guys. So yeah, that kind of segues into our first topic of discussion in this podcast episode, and that is NBA All-Star Weekend. Now, this could be one of the, lesser hyped up All-Star weekends we've had, because it seemed like leading up to it, nobody really wanted to do it. We talked about it a couple weeks ago where like players were basically like, why? And I get it. I don't really think it's necessary, but to do it if you can, I guess it's a good thing for the league and a good thing for fans. Um, but I think that this year's dunk contest may be one of the worst ever. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I don't really know what they could have done about it, but like the names they have, they're great dunkers, but like it's
They're
Obi Toppin, Anthony Simons, and Cassius Stanley. Like nobody's really that excited about any of them.
I don't think
So
I saw a thing that said Cassius Stanley hasn't dunked in the NBA yet. Like he dunked at Duke, sure, but he hasn't dunked in the NBA.
wow.
Which is, I mean, nobody wants to do the dunk contest anymore.
Yeah.
Like here's some names that declined: Anthony Edwards, Zion Williamson, Alex Caruso, Jalen Brown, Miles Bridges. Those are 5 guys who have name value, who would be fun to watch in the dunk contest, but they just don't want to do it. And whatever it may be, rest reasons or just they feel like it's pointless. Um, we just don't get stars in the dunk contest anymore, really.
Yeah, it's obviously a weird year, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna really like blame the NBA for it because a lot of these guys like just don't want to go, like they want to have their break.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty sad when like Obi Toppin, who averages like 10 minutes a game, is like probably the front runner.
Yeah.
So
Who knows? I mean, maybe they'll surprise us, but I just don't see it being. It's obviously not going to be Levine, Aaron Gordon level dunk contest, so don't expect that. But maybe they'll break something out here or there. But as we've seen the trend be, the stars all come to the 3-point contest. This year we've got Steph Curry, Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell, all stars. Damian Lillard opted out. He said he just wanted to rest reasons or whatever it is. He's in the All-Star game. But it's a good lineup.
yeah, the 3-point contest, I mean, you know what to expect every year. I think it's exciting because it's like, I mean, I'm entertained by it. Sometimes the dunk
Yeah.
contest is just like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's hard to mess this one up, and they got all the all-stars because they're already going to be there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm glad they got the big names for this one.
Who you got?
Um, I I'm gonna put Booker in there.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big fan of Booker, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping
I
he pulls it out.
I'm gonna go with Zach LaVine on this one.
Okay.
He's been shooting very well
Yeah.
this season, and I feel like we all know he's a great scorer, but that's part of his game. I mean, not many people, I mean, except for you, of course, you'd love to talk about shooting percentages. Um, but, shooting percentages is kind of like, I don't want to say overlooked, but it's not one of the main things people talk about when you talk about a person's like all-star bid, for example. But he's been shooting very well from three and just in general. So I've got Zach LaVine, a little bit of a sleeper, but I mean, they're all all-stars. So you can't really have
Also,
a,
I mean, Steph is in there, so like
yeah,
I would not be surprised at all if he just destroys this.
yeah, that's true.
Who
And
you
then,
got for the dunk contest?
I'll go Anthony Simons.
Okay, I'm gonna go with my rookie of the year, Obi Toppin.
Obi Toppin. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the dunk contest is kind of just like random, especially with these guys. You don't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Skills competition though. Again, got some names. All stars, except Robert Covington was thrown in there, which no idea why. Do you know why?
I mean, he's probably one of the best like all around players. He's just not great at much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean he's a very good defender, but like I guess he does all the little things, so I guess that's why they throw him in there. But this is kind of a weird one,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
So we've got Luka Doncic, Chris Paul, Domantas Sabonis, Julius Randle, Robert Covington, and Nikola Vucevic. Um, I mean, you know what this everyone I assume most people know what the skills competition is. It's basically just like dribbling and passing and shooting skills, basically. Um, who do I want to go with here? I would go with Chris Paul, but I don't know if he's gonna be fast enough.
That's my pick.
That does your pick. I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
Domantas Sabonis. I feel like
All right.
there's always kind of like the big man that shocks people.
That's true.
So I'm gonna go with Sabonis. You go Chris Paul.
Yep.
All right. Stay tuned. See if any of our picks win. Hopefully they do. I mean, we picked 2 out of 3 dunk contest winners, unless Cassius Stanley shows out.
First dunk in the NBA, I guess.
And the main event, the All-Star game. They held the draft last night. Team LeBron versus Team Durant. LeBron came out with the first pick and took Giannis Antetokounmpo. Durant went Kyrie Irving. Of course he did. You kind of have to. We've seen that. Like I think LeBron took AD first last year. It's usually what you do. You take your teammate.
Yeah.
Unless
Kind of feel bad for KD because like he kind of had to, but like I mean Steph is better than Kyrie, but like you can't do that to your teammate. So
and you could tell watching the live, he was like, I mean, take Kyrie. And then obviously LeBron went Steph. And I think right there won it for him, if we're being honest. In terms of the starting lineup, at least, for sure. And then Durant went Embiid. Joel Embiid. He's Joel Embiid. Then LeBron went Luka. And then Durant went Kawhi, right? Yeah. And then LeBron took Jokic, and then Durant got Beal and Tatum for his starting 5. Starting 5, LeBron's team is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane.
If you want to talk about it in terms of if Steph is a point guard and Luka's a shooting guard, and he might have the best player at each position.
Yeah, you can argue Embiid and Jokic, but even them are close.
And
so
if we're talking Luka as a shooting guard, you can argue Harden, but he's not a starter, so But I think LeBron got the best. I don't know. That team is so good.
Yeah, I'm excited for the All-Star game, not because like, oh, I need LeBron's team to win, even though I'm like going for him because he's obviously my favorite over Durant. But like the All-Star game last year was really fun, so I'm excited for this.
I hope they make it fun again.
Yeah.
We'll see. It seemed like LeBron and Durant were pretty excited for the game, and they're, up for a good game.
I'm glad they're keeping the rules from last year.
Yeah. And then the reserves, LeBron had Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, Domantas Sabonis, and Ben Simmons. there's no bad picks. Don't get me wrong, um, but it was kind of. I feel like LeBron had to take Chris Paul. That's his boy. They've been, whatever.
Mhm.
They've got their thing, and I feel like he almost had to take Ben Simmons too, because they have their thing. He's like the prince or whatever. I don't know. That's a thing, right? And then so that's those are LeBron's reserves. Solid, obviously. Durant's reserves, Devin Booker, James Harden. Again, he had to take him first. Um, the teammate situation. Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell, Julius Randle, Nikola Vucevic, and Zion Williamson. I mean, what are we supposed to say? There's a bad team here. There's not, but
Yeah, I think Durant's reserves are actually pretty good.
I
So
think I would obviously take LeBron's starters, but Durant's reserves might be better than LeBron's.
yeah,
Um, but I'm gonna go with Team LeBron.
same.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's gonna be like a blowout. I think it'll be
No,
fun. So I'm
it'll be
excited.
like, hopefully it's like last year where
Hmm.
but
Came
hopefully,
down to a free throw
yeah,
buzzer beater.
but hopefully they don't win it to a free throw. I feel like that was kind of lame. Um, but yeah, looking forward to All Star Weekend. Again, you know, we'll see. I think it looks like everyone's down to do it and is up for a good week or weekend day. I guess it's on Sunday. Everything is on Sunday. I'm interested in seeing the dunk contest at halftime. Like,
Yeah,
it's just gonna like be in the middle of the game, which I think will be cool.
yeah. I'm glad they're not making it a huge thing because it seems like the dunk contest the last couple of years, other than the super exciting years, have kind of been like a little disappointing.
Yeah, and I think they recognize that, and we're like, okay, like they
Yeah,
put all the stars before the All Star game, in the skills competition and the 3-point contest, and they were like, oh, dunk contest can just be a little halftime show,
yeah. Better than commercials, obviously.
obviously. So yeah, that's all we got on the NBA All Star Weekend. Gonna be a good day, I guess, good Sunday. But that moves us into our next little topic, and that is our second baseman and shortstop rankings in the MLB. We're going to start off with our second baseman. Let me pull it up here. Okay. Second baseman, my honorable mentions. Kevin Biggio of the Toronto Blue Jays. He's super young, so I can't put him in the top 10 yet, but I think he's got talent. Last year, he hit 250 with 8 home runs and 28 RBIs. Um, he's solid defensively too, but I just think he's too young to put in the top 10. And then I wanted to say Kike Hernandez because he's an interesting one. He when he was with the Dodgers, he was a kind of a platoon guy. He started once every 3 or 4 games, I'd say. Um, but he showed flashes, obviously, of being an everyday starter, and I think he's going to be on the Red Sox. Um, but obviously we'll still see. We've never seen him as an everyday starter, but he showed flashes in the playoffs last year. He hit that home run in the NLCS that really won the game for the Dodgers. And he's great defensively. So I think he deserved a shout out. He's not top 10. I just think he's an interesting one to look out for getting a starting spot on the Red Sox.
Yeah, I like it. My first honorable mention is Donovan Solano. I
Mm.
think he's kind of overlooked in a lot of ways. He could even make the top 10 in some lists, but last 2 seasons, he's batted almost 330. His average is insane. He gets on base, and as a second baseman, you don't really need a power hitter. Obviously, it would help, but you don't need it. And he puts up that average. That's kind of what you want. He won Silver Slugger last year. So I think he's a very solid second baseman that kind of gets overlooked. My second honorable mention is Tommy La Stella, who's not a huge like defender, but kind of same as Donovan Solano, where he puts up that average. He's very fast. He can hit some home runs. He's had a couple good seasons, but never really shown that power too much. He's been an all-star before. Can't put him in my top 10, but I want to just mention him.
Yeah. And one guy, I don't know if you have him in your top 10, but Colton Wong is a guy I wanted to just shout out just because he's such a good defender. Um, and I just think he deserves to get some credit. He's not in my top 10, though.
Yeah, same.
Who you got at 10?
My 10, I got David Fletcher,
Hmm.
who kind of came onto the scene last year. Nobody was really expecting him to do what he did, but he actually finished 17th in MVP voting, which I know is not up there, but like that's pretty good. He batted 320 with an 800 OPS. He also stole some bases. I mean, he's good at getting walked. He's very solid for the Angels. Kind of weird that they have a couple of good second basemen, but they do. Um, he's
Who's the
pretty
other one?
solid. Tommy La Stella got traded,
He's
huh?
on the Giants.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they
They
produce them, I guess.
they
Um,
churn them out.
yeah. I like him there. He's only 26 years old. I think he can get better than he is. He's only going to be going into his 4th season, so I think the improvements can be there, and he's already shown a lot of flashes.
Yeah. My 10, you talked about him. He's one of your honorable mentions. Tommy La Stella. Um, All-Star in 2019. I feel like nobody really thinks of him as an all-star caliber player, but I think a change of scenery may do him well going to the Giants. Um, Career 274 hitter. He hit 281 last year. Um, 2 seasons ago, 2019, he had 16 home runs, which if you get 15 to 20 home runs out of your second baseman, I'd say that's pretty solid production just because second basemen are usually the leadoff guys who get on base. I would know that was my job. Um, but yeah, I think Tommy La Stella is a great second baseman, kind of overlooked, like you said about David Fletcher too. He's my number 9, by the way. So I'll just go into that. My number 9, David Fletcher. You kind of said everything you need to say about him. He hit 319 last season, 320. Um, it's only his 4th season, so he's still a young guy who has a lot to, I feel like, improve upon. Career 292 hitter, um, and he's solid in the field. So I think Fletcher and LaStella at 9-10 for me. Two guys that are kind of overlooked, but I think deserve to be in here.
Yeah. My number 9, I got Chris Taylor. I don't know if you have him a little bit higher, but I know he's one of your guys on the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's actually a solid power hitter. I think
Yeah.
that nobody really recognizes that, but he's kind of on the different spectrum instead of average. He still puts up good average, but he kind of goes for home runs more. He strikes out a lot, but
Yeah.
you kind of take that with the home runs. He's been really solid for them. He can play like, I don't know, 7 positions, something crazy.
Yeah. He plays every
Um,
outfield, shortstop, and first base. He could probably play third base if he wanted to, too.
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, you can put him wherever you want. That's very valuable. And he's a better than average hitter. So, I mean, that's perfect. And the Dodgers, I mean, they're already stacked. So having a guy like that is perfect for them. I'll let you talk about him more because I'm sure you have him on your list. So,
Yeah, he's my number 8 if we want to just
okay.
jump to that. Yeah, like you said, he's a really good power hitter, but his one knock is his strikeouts. He led the league in strikeouts in 2018, I think it was years 18 or 19. Um, but he's consistently 260, 270 hitter. And again, if you get that power production from the second base spot, it's super valuable. Um, Won the NLCS MVP in 2017, I believe, when we played the Cubs. Um, and he's just a solid guy in that lineup. And like you said, he's so, versatile. He can really play any position. His official position is second base, so that's why we have him here. But he's just a guy that's solid in a lineup, and you really, besides the strikeouts, he's pretty good all around. I'm interested
Yeah.
to see who you have high that I don't even have on my list.
Yeah. I think that this one is going to surprise you a bit, but I got my reasons. I got Cesar Hernandez.
I knew it.
Um, yep.
He's your 8.
Yeah, he's an Indians player, so I know what he does, but I think, well, first of all, offensively, he bats like 280 and also has some power. He led the league in doubles last season. He's led the league in triples before, but also he won a Gold Glove last season. And I don't think anybody really talks about his defense at all, but he's really good there. And him and Frankie last season up the middle, that was great. Just a
Tears.
fantastic defense. Um, and yeah, I the fact that he's not on your list, I mean, I'm not surprised about it, but I think he deserves it. And I mean, he puts up the numbers, and being so good at second base defensively, I think kind of like makes him a little bit better than some other guys. But I understand if, I guess you don't really recognize that, but yeah, I got him up there.
No, no, no. I think he deserves his respect. I was when I was looking up doing research for this, I saw his name flash there once, and I didn't really think twice about it. But no, he's definitely even back when he was with the Phillies, he was solid. So I think he's a good guy for the 8 to 10 range. My number 7 is Jake Cronenworth of the San Diego Padres. Um, he was in the Rookie of the Year race last year. Last year, I believe this is his second season. Um, Hit 285, 354 on base percentage, and 831 OPS with 4 home runs and 20 RBIs. He's just a solid offensive guy. Again, with the second baseman, there's some very good defensive second baseman, but then the most important thing I'd say for this position is just to get solid offensive production. Um, and I think Jake Cronenworth gives you that. And I think he's part of that young core of the Padres going forward.
Yeah, I had him at 7 too. So basically everything you said, I agree with. I think him being so young kind of puts him that high for me, just because he can get so much better than he already is, and he already finished, I think, second Rookie of the Year. You said.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's perfect for me too. Um, what are we at? 6. I
6.
got Ketel Marte.
Same, same, same.
All right, he has kind of flown under the radar. I mean, obviously, like big MLB fans know who he is, but it
Mm-hmm.
seems like he should be talked about a little bit more with how good he has been. Offensively, he can put up the average and also hit. Well, I think he had like 30 home runs last season or
Yeah.
2 seasons ago. Um, and I mean, that's super solid at second base. If you can even get average, like a good average, then you're a great second baseman. But if you can also put up 30 home runs, that's perfect. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
he does strike out a little bit, or I guess, oh, no. He actually doesn't strike out that much. I was thinking of a different guy. Yeah, he's super solid. I don't think his defense is as good as some of the other guys, but his hitting alone kind of puts him up there. So I have him at 6 for me.
Yeah. He's my 6 as well. Um, Being a Dodger fan, obviously, I've watched him a lot when he on the Diamondbacks, and he just rakes, and he's just not talked about. He's one of those offensive minded second basemen. Like, yeah, 2019 he was an all-star. He hit 329 with 32 home runs and 92
It's
RBIs.
crazy.
That's phenomenal production out of the second base spot. Um, so I like Ketel Marte. I think he's, again, second base position isn't really talked about much besides maybe a couple of guys, but I think Marte is one of the better offensive guys. Now number 5 might be a little low for him, but I have Jose Altuve. Um, Obviously he's had a great career. Um, Career 311, 6 All-Stars, an MVP. I'm gonna get it out of the way. The MVP season, he cheated. That's it. I'm done with it. But you have to acknowledge that in the first year where they weren't cheating in some way, he hit 219 with 5 home runs and 18 RBIs. And I mean, all the evidence is there that he was one of the main guys using that stuff. You know, his whole like, don't rip my jersey off. I have a buzzer. Um, but I still think he garners the 5 spot just because of what he's done in his career. Um, it's just I'm gonna need a season, a full season like this year where he kind of goes back to his old form so that I know that he's legit.
Yeah, I have him there too.
Okay.
I I have the same reason. I mean, he's been cheating and I don't like him, but you
Yeah.
can't ignore how good he was earlier, even if he was cheating. He's led the league in hits 4 seasons, stolen bases twice, and then his average, he's led the league in average 3 times. And yes, he's been cheating in a lot of those seasons, so they're obviously inflated, but I can't just ignore, like, you have to be very good to do that anyway. But yeah, I can't put him any higher
Yeah.
because of the cheating.
Also, I want to mention one thing about Jose Altuve. He's won a Gold Glove in his career, but this last postseason,
Mm,
he made like
he was bad.
6 throwing errors in the series against the Rays, and he's kind of, I don't even know, his whole defensive, just he hasn't been good the past couple of seasons. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty weird because he used to be good, and now it seems like he's like a very, very minus defender.
Yeah, he has a minus. He had a minus WAR last year.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy. It's crazy how big the drop off was, and
yeah.
it's sad, but a lot of the fans actually kind of liked it just because he was one of the annoying Astros who was like, I don't understand why we're getting in trouble,
Yeah.
but like, sorry, you cheated. All right, my number 4 guy, I got Jeff McNeil.
Oh.
You got him a little higher.
Ooh.
He is one of the best average hitters in the MLB, and he's consistently over 300. He's batted around 320 for the last 3 seasons, and he also has shown some power. He's only been in the league 3 years, and last full season he put up 23 home runs with a 916 OPS, which is very good for any position. And at second base, put up that average and OPS. That's fantastic. He's an all-star last year. He's plays pretty good defense. Kind of an all around guy, but that average is just insane. So that's why I have him this high. You can talk about it later if you have him a little higher, but
Yeah.
that's why I got him there.
My 4 is Brandon Lowe. Um, he's just another guy who just churns out offensive production at the second base position. Career 262 hitter, but he hits home runs. And again, like we said, home runs from the second base position are very valuable. In 2020, last year, he had 14 home runs in a shortened season, which is very good. All-star in 2019. He's solid defensively, and I think he's just one of the obviously better all-around second baseman in the league. Not much else to say about him.
Yeah, I had him at 3. So what I had him for, I think his power is just insane. He had 193 at bats and hit 14 home runs last season. And the season before, he had 17 and played less than, or I guess like half the games. So the power's there. His average is around 260, which obviously isn't as good as Jeff McNeil, but his OPS is a little bit higher. So it kind of depends on what you prioritize. I think defensively, they're kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I could flip those two, but I'm glad
Yeah.
we both have them different because I think they're pretty close.
Mm-hmm. My number 3 is Ozzy Albies. Career 279 guy. He hit 271 last year. He had 24 home runs in both 2018 and 2019. So again, the offensive production from the second base position. He's good defensively, but I just can't overlook those offensive numbers. I think it's pretty obvious. I have Jeff McNeil next, but I'll talk about him. His power production is what puts him at number 3 for me.
Yeah, I have him at number 2 actually.
Yeah.
So he led the league in hits 2 seasons ago, and he's got that power. So I think just him being so young, I think he can put it all together a season. He can be even better than he is already. And he already has in 4 seasons an All-Star and a Silver Slugger award. So I really like him. I think he's fast. I think he's fun with Ronald Acuna. I like that duo a
Yeah,
lot.
that's a good duo.
Yeah, I just really like him. I think his average is kind of this. He's kind of the same as what was it, Brandon Lau, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kind of think the potential is a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So that's why I have him higher. But yeah, I agree with what you said. I mean, offensively, he's just insane, and then defensively, I think it's a little bit overlooked. But I think he's very solid there too.
Mm-hmm. And number 2, like I said, I have Jeff McNeil. Career 319 hitter and a 383 on base percentage, which is very good. Anytime you're around 400 with your on base percentage, you're doing something right. And he's been doing it as pretty much the only solid bat in that Mets offense. So one of the main reasons I have him at number 2 is because I think adding Lindor, adding James McCann, and getting everybody healthy around him, I think will make him an even better hitter. Because, I talk about this a pretty fair amount when ranking these players, is being able to protect someone in a lineup, which basically means, if it's just Jeff McNeil is the best hitter in the Mets lineup, the pitchers can kind of work their way around him and kind of give him everything they've got. Whereas if Francisco Lindor's right behind him, you can't really play around because you're not going to walk McNeil to get to Lindor. So I think he's going to get a lot more opportunity to hit this year. And you can't argue with an above 300 hitter in his career with an almost 400 on base percentage. So that's why I have McNeil at 2.
Yeah. And then number one, I think it's kind of consensus in the league right now.
Yeah, it's
We
definitely
got DJ
consensus.
LeMahieu. I mean, basically every good thing we've said about any other second baseman, he has.
He does it
Like
better.
his average is insane. He batted 365 last season with a 1,000 OPS. Like he's got the power too. And defense, he's won 3 Gold Gloves. So
Yeah.
basically anything you need for a second baseman, you got. Uh,
He,
it's crazy because he gets on base so much. It's like
mhm.
and when when there's runners on base, he hits even better, which is crazy because it seems like a random stat sort of, but it's not because the sample size is so big and he batted like 500 last season.
Yeah. Uh, he's also the biggest second baseman in MLB history. He's 6'4". And obviously that helps with the power aspect. He's phenomenal defensively. And dude, he just hits. Like, it doesn't even have to be home runs. That guy just hits and gets on base. And you said it. He hit 364 last year with a 421 on base percentage. That's ridiculous. And because usually when we see guys, especially second basemen, who are so good offensively, usually are kind of a liability on defense, but he's not there. He's just so good all around. He's got all the tools to be obviously the best second baseman in the league.
Yeah.
Now, those are our second basemen. Let us know what you think. We had a good amount of differences. I like that. Now, shortstops. We are going to
That was
have
a lot
differences.
harder.
There are lots of good shortstops. It's close with third base for the most talented position in the league so far from what we've ranked. There's I'd say five guys that could be number one on this list. So that kind of goes to show how deep the position is and how good the position is. If you know us, I don't know what Logan's list is, but if you know us, you might know which direction we're going with the list. In terms of our, fan preferences and what we know, but try not to be too homer on this podcast, but you got to every once in a while. But who are your honorable mentions?
My first, and this is so hard because honestly, I think both these guys could be in the top 10 too. My first, I got Marcus Semien. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's had such a good season, not last season, but the one before, where he kind of just showed like how good he can be. Defensively, he's actually not the best. I think he's like made the most errors a couple times,
Yeah.
but shortstop is a very hard defensive position, so that they make the most errors every year. But batting wise, I mean, he batted like 290 and had 33 home runs the last full season. And if he can carry that over, that's like fantastic production with a 900 OPS. So I think, I mean, this position's so stacked that I couldn't put him in my top 10, but I wanted to mention him there. My
I'm
second guy,
curious to see what they do because he just signed with the Blue Jays
mm,
and they have Bo Bichette.
mm-hmm.
So I'm interested. I'm pretty sure he'll probably play third base and they'll move Vlad to first. But that should be interesting to watch for in terms of his
Yeah.
defensive, production.
Yeah. Earlier in his career, he played third. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to surprise me if he doesn't do too bad there. The other guy, I could get some hate for this. I got Gleyber Torres here.
Oh,
This was so tough because of the potential he has. It's insane. But last season he just didn't really do very well. Um, I have him there. He had 38 home runs his last full season, batting 280, which is insane. And the guy I have above him, I mean, I kind of wish I put him there to be honest with you, but but I
having
can't just
second
ignore.
thoughts.
Yeah, I can't ignore like the potential he has is crazy. He's only 23 years old, with that power, and he's also not a bad defensive player. Um, so he's just so good, and yeah, like I said, like he can get even better this year.
Yeah. My honorable mentions are one guy. He's not the best offensive, but I wanted to put him in here because I think he's the best defensive shortstop in the league, and that's Andrelton Simmons. He just signed with the Twins, so that'll be fun to watch. But I mean, his defense is so talked about, and to the fact where we kind of just don't really care about his offensive production. He's a career 270 hitter. He hit 297 last year, which is solid, especially given the defensive output that he brings. I think that those are great numbers for a guy who's so defensive minded. So I don't think he's necessarily an honorable mention in terms of we're just talking offense, but I think throwing the defense in there, I think he just deserves a shout out in the shortstop rankings. My other honorable mention is Bo Bichette. Now, I think after this season, I could have him in the top 10, but I mean, dude, career 307 hitter. Um, but he's only played 75 total games in his career. So I kind of had to take that into effect. Um, Obviously, he's got the potential. He's going to be there with Vlad and George Springer and Simeon, like you just said, on the Blue Jays. I think that team's going to be good this year. I just couldn't put him top 10 for the sole reason that he's only played 75 total games.
Yeah, I have him in my top 10, so I'll talk about him a little bit later. Um, so my 10, I got Carlos Correa. I honestly, I could have switched him with Gleyber Torres. I don't like Carlos Correa. I really don't. Um, but I can't ignore that he's been a solid player. But like we said earlier, like he cheated. So I'm not sure if these stats are like, as good as he really is, or the other way around. But he's a career 276 average hitter, and then his OPS is 830. He's solid defensively. He's pretty good. He's been an all-star. He's been in MVP conversation, and he won Rookie of the Year. He's super tall, and I mean he's solid, but I think he's pretty overrated, honestly, in the MLB world. When I was looking at these stats, I was expecting a lot better, to be honest, just because of his name. And I guess I haven't really looked at this too deeply before, but he's good. But honestly, I think he's overrated.
I mean, I do think he's overrated as well. I have him a bit higher, but I definitely think he gets too much hype around his name, and part of that is name value. Um, so a lot of people kind of just look at the name and are like, "Oh, he deserves to be top 5," but if you look into the numbers, he doesn't, and he's not top 5 for me, but he's not 10. My 10 is Gleyber Torres. I mean, you said it. He's so young with so much potential. And dude, in his first 2 seasons in the MLB, he was an all-star. Two all-star games. He hits the home runs. He's a career 271 guy, which is solid, but his main value is his home run numbers, and he's good defensively. And I honestly, the sky's the limit for this guy. If you can have 2 all-star seasons, hitting all those home runs in your first 2 seasons, yeah, he had a down year last year, but I think he could get a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. My number 9 guy, you already talked about him. I got Bo Bichette. I know that you said he only played 75 total games, and I agree that's not a big sample size at all. But it's, to me, I just looked at how impressive that was.
Yeah.
Like just that much. He has 16 home runs in 75 games, and he's also batting 307. That's insane, especially to start your career. He's only 22 years old, so I'm kind of going off the potential, I guess. If this is his first full season, I think he can do really, really well. And yeah, him being so young definitely boosts him up for me. I understand if you like. I think you could put Gleyber Torres instead of him, just like you did. But I'm so impressed with what he's already done with the small sample size. But I also understand that it is a small sample size, so I don't want to overreact too much. But I really like him.
Yeah. My number 9 is Javier Baez. Um, Obviously we know. I think he's probably the best defensive shortstop in the league. He started at second for his career, but he's transitioned over to short, and he is so good there. Um, but I think offensively, he kind of gets too much recognition. Like he had a really good season in 2018. 2019 was good too, but those are really outliers in his career, I think. He's a career 263 hitter. He hit 203 last year. And I get batting average isn't anything, but and his on base percentage at 304, that's also not very solid. Usually you look for the 350 range. Um, you know, everyone talks about the power. He only has 2 seasons above 25 home runs. Um, and don't get me wrong, I still think he's a great player, but I just think the defense is so much better than the offense. It puts him here, but I just can't put him above the other guys with his offensive production throughout his career.
Yeah, I have him at number 8. So basically the same reasons for you. I think he's obviously had those years where he's batted very well, hit a bunch of home runs. I do think his offense is a little bit overrated just because he has those highlights where he hits like 480-foot home runs, which is absolutely
Yeah.
insane. But I can't ignore the defense. It's so good. You can argue best in the league, at least like top 3 probably.
Mm-hmm.
His offense is not bad. It's just people think he's better than he is.
Yeah.
Um, but I think he's very solid, and defensively at shortstop, it's very important. So yeah, all the reasons you said, I have him at number 8.
My 8 is Carlos Correa. You talked about him. I think he's very overrated. As I do, I said it in the earlier episode with Alex Bregman, but that's a different topic. But I mean, you look at him, you think, oh, Carlos Correa, he's a stud. He's the Astros guy. He's never had a season over 25 home runs in his career, and career 276 hitter, solid, not good, not like great. Only one All-Star appearance. He won Rookie of the Year his rookie season, and last year just 264, 5 home runs and 25 RBIs. So Correa is a weird guy where he's got all the name value in the world, but there's just no production.
Yeah,
You said what most of it, but that's my take on Carlos Correa.
yeah. I'm sorry we're hating on the Astros, but
They deserve it.
honestly,
No,
they
I'm not
deserve it
sorry. I'm not
100%.
sorry.
So yeah. At number 7 for me, I got Tim Anderson.
So do I.
Yeah, I mean, we can both talk about him, but his average, it's crazy. He led the league in average last season with 335, and he's also got the power. I mean, he hit 10
Mm-hmm.
home runs last year in less than 50 games. He had 18 the year before and 20 the year before that, so it's consistently there. He finished 7th in MVP voting with the Silver Slugger. I mean, he's all around, and he's just so fun to watch.
I
Like
love watching him
I get that some people hate the bat flips because they're like old and don't want it to
because you're
change, but
yeah.
it's it's exciting. I mean, baseball needs excitement, and this guy brings it. Like, I love watching some guy hit a 500-foot home run and then just launch a bat. Like,
Yeah.
if the pitcher gets mad, then good. Like, I think that's exciting.
There's a
Um,
lot of these guys on that list. Like, hey, old heads, open your mind and acknowledge that Javier Baez, Tim Anderson, Fernando Tatis, they're fun to watch. Just
yeah,
acknowledge that. And yeah, like you said, so much production. Um, he's great for that leadoff spot. Um, with that White Sox team with Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada, um, Edwin Encarnacion. That team's good, and he's a big part of it. He's just yeah, and I just love watching him. He's
yeah,
just a fun player. Number 6, I have Xander Bogaerts.
yep,
Do you have him at 6 too?
yeah,
Ooh, I was seeing some things where a lot of people had him very high.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, I get it. Now, just a disclaimer: these top six guys all have very similar numbers, and can be looked
They
at
can go anywhere.
very different ways. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad if you put 1 through 6 anywhere, but except for maybe a couple guys here and there. But honestly, all these top 6 guys are
It was
phenomenal.
it was really hard.
Yeah, it's super hard. But Bogarts, very good hitter, 289 career. He's hit 300 plus his last 2 seasons. 2-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger. He had a great season in 2019, or he hit 33 home runs and 117 RBIs. He's kind of the guy in that Red Sox lineup now with Betts gone, and with them kind of, I don't know if they're in a rebuild necessarily, but they're just, I don't know, in a weird position. But I think Bogarts is a great guy for the Red Sox, and he's number 6 for me.
Yeah, I have the same thing, same reasons. His offense is obviously there and it's insane. I think defensively, some of the guys above him are a little bit better. I'd say he's probably average, where some other guys are just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you're talking about him, where if you put him at number one, I wouldn't agree, but it wouldn't be absolutely insane. Then I can't. I mean, I don't think it's disrespectful to put him at 6,
Yeah.
considering how good these guys are.
Mm-hmm.
At number 5, I hope we get some differences here. I got Trey Turner.
So do I.
Okay. Well, he's okay. In like the fantasy app, I swear they put him at like the 3rd best player every year for some
That's
reason.
yeah, that's his stolen base value, I think,
Yeah.
speaking.
He's a very unique player because of how fast he is in his average. He's basically like the second baseman that you think of. He's like the perfect version of that.
Yeah, but he plays shortstop. Oh, yeah, we're playing shortstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shortstop. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
He's got the power, which is kind of sneaky, like 20 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the average is obviously the main thing. He gets on base and he's so fast that he can score. Um, he obviously like helped them win a championship. Uh, he's led the league in hits last season and triples with a 335 batting average with
Yeah.
a almost 1,000 OPS. The batting's there, the fielding's there. You can't forget about him when he's on base. He can steal anything. I mean, he's just very impressive with everything that he does. He's good at everything. So
Yeah.
that's why I have him there.
I think Trey Turner is one of the most underrated, underappreciated, however you want to word it. I just don't think he gets enough respect. He's just consistently so good in really every aspect of baseball. He hits for power, he hits for average, he runs, he plays defense, and he's got an arm. You can't ask for more out of your shortstop. Like you said, 335 last year. He's a career 296 guy. So hovering 300 is really where all these guys are in their career. But he just has all the production in the world, and he's just a consistent bat at the top of that Nationals lineup.
Yeah.
Number 4, I have Trevor Story. Is that different, or do you have Trevor Story?
It's different.
It's different. Okay. So a lot of people have Trevor Story like 1 or 2. And my main problem with that is I don't know how much I can trust Coors Field numbers, because I was looking at his splits. He hits 304 at home. Again, Coors Field, if you don't know, higher elevation. It's a hitter's park. Everybody hits at Coors Field. 304 at home, 250 on the road. His 84 home runs at home, 50 on the road, a 994 OPS at home, and a 760 OPS on the road. So don't get me wrong, he's a great player. He's, hovered 290 his last 3 seasons with 30 plus home runs. But I just take some of those stats with a grain of salt because he's in Coors Field. And don't get me wrong, he's a great player. Like I said, he's just number 4 for me, mainly because I think some of his stats are juiced because of Coors Field.
Yeah, I get that. My number 4, it's going to make people angry. I got Fernando Tatis. Like we said earlier, you could have him at number 1 and it wouldn't be insane. So
Yeah.
I
think it would be, but
some people would.
Yeah.
This was just so tough. And like you said earlier, like you've said it a couple weeks where he hasn't even played a full season yet, but it's the fact that his numbers in those 2 seasons have been so impressive is why I have him here. He's batting 300 and has 39 home runs and less than a full season combined.
Yeah.
So that's insane for a 21-year-old who's only getting better. He's kind of being pushed for the face of the league just because he's fun to watch.
But I don't think he's the face of the league yet.
No, I don't think yet, but I think the MLB is pushing him
They
because he's an
definitely
exciting
are.
player.
Yeah.
Like he was on the front of the cover of the show or whatever
he's
it's
on
called.
MLB The Show this year.
Yeah. He's super fun to watch. Kind of like we said, Tim Anderson. Like he's kind of the face of Slam Diego, that whole thing where it's like, I'm going to hit, even if it's a 3-0 pitch, I'm going to hit a home run. And he is like the new version of baseball where it's exciting and the whole like untold rules are being broken or whatever. And he's got an OPS of 950 and he's only getting better. Like I said, he's 21 years old. So he's so good. I mean, He's got the home runs. He's got the average. His defense is pretty good. He won the Silver Slugger last year with fourth in MVP voting. I'm fine if you have him higher. I'm fine if you have him a tiny bit lower. He's really good.
Yeah, I have him at 3. Um, you pretty much said everything. I'm not a salty Dodger fan at all. I acknowledge how good he is and how good he can be. I just, again, like you said, 143 total games. 317. He hit 317 in about half of a season his rookie year, and then he hit 277 last year. Again, you said all the numbers, but he is so electric and so fun to watch. I think he's gonna keep getting better, and I wouldn't be surprised if even after this season or the next, he's up there at number 1. It really depends on how he does. For me, at least, in his first full season in the MLB, because if we're being honest, the biggest test for a player is how they do in a 162 game season. So we'll see. I think he's a great player, and I think he's going to do great. But I think 3, 4, that range is fair, especially with how many games he's played and how good he's been in those games.
Yeah. At my number 3, I got Trevor Story. You already talked about him. He's finished around top 10 in MVP voting the last 3 seasons, won Silver Slugger twice. The offensive numbers are insane. He's good defensively, strikes out a lot, but he also hits a lot of home runs. The main knock on him is, like you said, Coors Field. So I could get if you put him higher or lower. Yeah, you already talked about him, so I'm not going to spend too much time on him, but I think I know what the top 2 picks for both of us are. So yeah, let's get into that.
So, I mean, it's Seager and Lindor are left. I'm assuming you have Lindor at 1.
Yeah.
I have Seager at 1. So I have Lindor at 2. He has Seager at 2. So you go ahead and give your case, for Francisco Lindor. This is, by the way, a discussion, an argument, debate that we've had for about 3 seasons now. And it's fun every time. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I don't think you can go wrong with either of them.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's very, very close. And I think our preferences obviously are the ones that put it
Right.
over the edge for both of us. I think Frankie is the best because his average is there, but also his defense is probably one of the best, if not the best in the league. And I think he's probably a better all-around player. Hitting, I do think he is a little bit worse, but even that, like, it's really, really close. He's a career 285 hitter with a 833 OPS. He hits a lot of home runs, around 30 to 40 every year. Last season, he did have a down year, which I understand if that's why you have him lower. But also there was a lot of things going around that, like his contract season and whatever. A lot of things have come out where he wasn't really happy at all. So I understand why it was a down year. Before that, like, he was an all-star the 4 seasons before, finished basically top 5 in MVP voting twice, top 15 the season before, won 2 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Sluggers. He's led the league in runs. He gets on base. He hits for power. He plays one of the best defensive. He's one of the best defenders in the league. He's fun to watch, Mr. Smile. I'm so sad he's gone. I mean, he's been my favorite player for the last 6 years. So it's obviously preference, and I think he could go 1 to probably 3. But yeah, I really like him. That's why I have him there.
I think that's the main reason. The main thing Lindor has on Seager is the defense, I'd say. And I would argue that he has the defense by a fair amount, just because I think Seager is built for third base. I think eventually he's going to transition to a third baseman. He's huge. I just don't think he's a natural short. He is a natural shortstop, but I think eventually in his career he'll become a third baseman, an A-Rod type situation. But I have Seager at 1. Career 295 guy. He hit 307 last year with 15 home runs and 41 RBIs. Corey Seager has played 2 full seasons, 2 seasons not barred by injury. In those 2 seasons, 2 All-Stars, 2 Silver Sluggers. He's, consistently 300 range. He led the league in doubles 1 year. He's going to hit his 25-ish home runs a year. And I think one of the main things that put him, also he won Rookie of the Year his rookie year. So there's that too. But I think one of the main things that puts him up here for me is his playoff performance. Um, he was good in years prior, but this last season he really broke out. And a lot of the buzz, at least, I mean, I'm obviously a Dodger fan, so I know some of the buzz that goes around Dodgers is was his first actual season in a long time since like 2016, 2017, where he was fully healthy. And I mean, we saw it hit 307, like I said, World Series MVP, NLCS MVP, hitting home runs everywhere. Um, I just think he's so good offensively and so consistent when he's healthy. And his injuries were kind of like those injuries where he had an elbow injury, so that doesn't really hurt his hitting at all. It's more of an arm thing. Uh, Obviously, it's an arm thing. Jesus. Um, but I acknowledge that Lindor is better defensively, absolutely. But I just think Seager is so good on offense, and I think he's proven when he's healthy that he's the best offensive shortstop in the league.
Yeah, I like that we got both points of view, because like I completely agree that like at the peak of Seager, he's so good. But also the other argument is like Lindor stays more healthy.
Right.
But also like maybe his peak is lower. So I like both sides. There's definitely not a correct like number one pick. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that we both had different ones.
A series or something we want to talk about later in another episode is Seager, Lindor, Story, Correa, maybe Baez. They're all free agents after this year. And like that whole crop of shortstops are free agents.
That's
So
crazy.
I think the Dodgers have already been talking to Seager about an extension. I think Correa and the Astros had their thing. I think the Mets and Lindor are talking. But that's going to be interesting to see is where all these shortstops end up. I think most of them probably stay with their team, just because they're all so good and they're all franchise worthy players, if we're being honest. Um, but yeah, that's what we've got. I've got Seager number one. You've got Lindor number one, and then we both have LeMahieu number one for second base. I think that's all we got for today. Fun episode, talk about NBA All-Star weekend, All-Star game. Seems like so long ago. Um, Second base rankings and shortstop rankings. Uh, yeah, it's been fun. Let us know what you guys think. If you made it this far, what should they comment on our Instagram?
Um, give their number one shortstop.
All right, tell us who your number one shortstop is. Um, yeah, go do it. If you made it this far, again, we love you. Follow us on all our social medias. Like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Like, give a rating, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. For my co-host, Logan Ring, my name is Diego Sandoval, signing off.
Signing off.